All right, last time we talked about where we are going to have to place each of these four things in our Venn diagram, right? We talked about the levels of leadership, strategic level of leadership being the highest level of leadership where you have direction and strategy for the organization's objectives. And we talked about having at the operational level where you have the managers then being able to plan and execute whatever it is that the strategic leadership and direction of the organization desires to foster. And then ultimately the tactical level of leadership is where the execution occurs. So with that said, where do we place these four things: procedural compliance, clarity of purpose, intellectual competence, and discipline of execution? And we got to always remember that when it starts with strategic leadership, the one thing you've got to have for strategic leadership is what? Intellectual competence. Intellectual competence is something you cannot do without at a strategic level. You've got to be able to be competent and exact in where you want to go and understand the level of impact it takes to do that. But at the same level, you've got to have clarity of purpose. You've got to be very clear on what it is that you want to achieve in your organization. So that tells us that at the operational level of leadership, we have to have what? Intellectual competence. But what else should we have at the operational level of leadership to be able to accomplish what we want? That is what? Procedural compliance. Procedural compliance tells us that at that level, you've got to know exactly how these things have to be accomplished to meet the organization's objectives. And what does that leave us with in the middle of the Venn diagram? Discipline of execution. Which tells me that at every level of leadership, or strategic level, operational level, or technical level where it actually occurs, the one thing we cannot do without is the discipline of execution. So I remind you to always think at each level of leadership what things you have to a definite outcome in what you're trying to accomplish. Intellectual competence and clarity of purpose at the strategic level, intellectual competence and procedural compliance at the operational level, and then procedural compliance and clarity of purpose at the tactical level. And in all phases, the discipline of execution has to occur. I hope this adds clarity to you to understand how the law of definite outcomes, which will be manifest in any thing you want to accomplish, these four factors have to be at play. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Be well.